The reason I'm bringing this message up is because the last two verses of Deuteronomy chapter 21 have been making headlines lately. And now I'm not talking about in the textual critic world. I'm not talking about in the universities and the pagan places of the world. I'm talking about an independent, fundamental, supposed King James Baptist churches are putting a question mark on verses 21 and 22, whether you actually have the words of God or there are errors in your King James Bible. Look at verse number 22 and let's see if you can see an error. And if a man have committed a sin worthy of death, and he be to be put to death, and thou hang him on a tree. Did you see it? You're right, because there's no error. Now let's look at this here for a moment. And if a man committed a sin worthy of death, and he be to be put to death. Surely we know nobody talks that way, and surely we know it's an oops. And after 400 years, no one has been able to discover that our King James Bible has a typo until now. Thank you to all those brave pastors out there who are finally reading Deuteronomy chapter 21. Or could it be that the modern day Bible corrector is wrong, and God has actually preserved His Word just as He promised? And for the past 400 years, people have been reading their King James Bible and have never had a problem with it until now. And let me just go ahead and burst your bubble. They're not the first to find this anyway, because this is not an error. They're going to say it's a typo. Do you hear the difference? If a man have committed a sin worthy of death, and this is what they say it should read, and he be put to death, you need to take out those two words, to be. They say, so see, it's a normal typo, it's a normal mistake. We all make mistakes. Even God made one apparently here when He preserved His Word. Hey, it's just a simple mistake. The meaning's still there. We're going to get into that in just a moment. And they begin to just kind of play it off. Oh, the to be, we know what He meant to say. You ever have a preacher, especially me, you probably could raise your hand at times I've done it. I say something and it didn't come out right, or I said it dyslexically, but you knew what I meant to say. God doesn't have those problems. Right. If it reads the way they think it should read, that if a man be put to death, and thou hang him on a tree, that his body is to be taken off before the night. So we have a person who's been put to death. Now we're going to hang him on a tree, and now we're going to take his body off before the night. Or how about if he be to be put to death? He is set and scheduled to be put to death. Here's how you do it. You hang him on a tree, and then before night is over, you take him off. That makes sense. What they're saying doesn't make sense. And so the only mistake I see is they thought God made one. And so here we see the word to be belongs right. But you know what I have found? This is not my first rodeo in standing for the King James Bible. I'm going to stand on this whether I can silence any critic in this room or online. I don't care, because I will go to my grave believing that God kept His promise when He promised to preserve His Word. And I'm going to build my life off of the very word order of this book.